Okay, can you hear now? Working now? Yeah, that's weird. Sometimes I just have to restart Discord. Maybe Ian had to do that. I don't know if he already did it, but it's so weird. Like, what's? I mean, yeah, like we can do a little stream if you guys want. Um, but Discord, yeah. I am streaming in Lens, right? Yeah. All right. Yeah, so like we can go over like whatever if you guys want. I don't. This is not going to be uploaded to WAP or anything, but just because I'll just like kind of do a stream to replace that, I guess. Let's go over like today some stuff. Not really trade today, but gold. Or I want to go over EU. It's kind of interesting. So we have yesterday, or not yesterday, but Wednesday, printing a very large range, and then yesterday we consolidated, right? So expansion, consolidation, but then we have SMT here with the correlated asset. So when you see, hold on. Oh, that's that. Okay. Let me pull this here. I'm still recording. All right. Okay. All right. So we know that we can't reverse consolidation coming into this day. We could have assumed that this was definitely going to get taken, right? And possibly this low, but the S&P held. So it's really just how we react to this low at this point, right? So when we drop down to lower time frames, right, we see the candle go open low first, and then you see the reaction away from this low, the willingness to trade away from this low, and then you get a chain of state delivery. So at this point, you could possibly be trading longs, right? If you just break it down to a simple model where we have range low, is a model I use all the time. You have a range high. And keep in mind, you have that S&T at this low way over there. And so it's just consolidation, manipulation, and then an expansion away, right? Then we consolidate again, we expand again. So any S&T in here, inside of these opposing candles is a possible entry to get to the previous high or this fair value gap in general, right? And then we're closing over opposing PD arrays, using them as support, right? So this is where we want to get in. Maybe there's a possible fractal model here. You can check. There could have been one possibly here. You could say. The only problem with this is towards the end of the candle, right? So it just went 40 minutes of kind of just consolidating, which is fine. So that could be a loss, technically, right? You have more swing point here, and you get the same thing. I use intercandle state delivery a lot here. And we form SMT, I think, somewhere. Yeah, we form SMT here, right, with this low. So now we could be really confident about this, right, to get to that high, essentially. And we ultimately get there, but not a bad day, not really a profile that is covered in the lens, but it's essentially just manipulation, and then we can expect distribution throughout the day because it's established low today. That was all right. We go to like indices today. So let's go over the previous days. So very, very large range Wednesday. And again, we consolidate. So this news event was pretty hard on the way it impacted all markets. And then after a large expansion, to actually expect another expansion day like this is very unlikely. So you can already anticipate a really bad day this day right here. I did trade this day, but it's more so, I'd show you, a scalping opportunity. because I'm viewing this as a day that's not likely to expand, right? And so when I look at this daily profile, it's actually pretty clean where we have no established low today. We just have the 2 sessions, more so retracing, right? So I have low resistance here and here. And what I like about this around the open is when we get that manipulation, which is what you want to see. You want to see 930. You want to see these drivers actually manipulate, creating the high of the day, um, or just creating continuation signatures. So we have 930 manipulation here. Let me close over this opposing candle here. And so my trade was inside of this candle here. It was actually a fractal model. I'll show you here. So the candle closes like this, right? We haven't yet really reached any objective. And if I remember, I think there's SMT here. I don't really remember. There's SMT right here, 34. 34. Yeah, like you have like some internal SMT at the highs. So you have this little SMT up here. That's always what you want to see is SMT at the reversal point. So we have that, right? You have a candle 2 closure and the reversal inside of candle 2. And now you're opening up next to an invalidation point, right? Where we expect the higher the candle to form inside of these opposing candles. So I just set a limit here. I probably could have got better RR. I put my entry right there, and I'm not expecting a big move. So I literally just did this about 1.5 R. I usually don't do this, but it was my birthday, so I was like, I'm just gonna try to hit a trading day, lock in my $200+ for the day on a top step, and that's what happened here. Right, we eventually get there. So that was my trade. Nothing crazy at all. But when you look inside here, it's like the same thing, right? Where we have the opening price of the next candle. It forms that intra-candle CSD right here off of this opposing candle. That's another scalp opportunity. The intra-candle CSD is such a good concept. That was my trade there. It was nothing insane, but just expecting, not really expecting much that day. Right, so when you want to trade back into a range, right, you want to have an expansion candle, which we don't have here, to be honest. The daily profile is not that clean. What we do have is no wick at the high of the day for today. We kind of just drift lower. And then if you look at the opposing or the time drivers for today, if this was going to be a bearish day, right, then we would want to see these opposing candles support price lower. So what are the time drivers that we want to see push price lower? It would be 8:30 news, and if I show you here, it would be 8:30 news and 9:30. You want to see go lower, but what happens here? The way we come back into this range is it's expansion, right? So expansion, another expansion, which is generally a reversal signature, right? You don't want to see expansion into your POI. So that's one thing that's kind of putting us off, right? We're also inside of an expansion candle of 4 hour, which I will cover tomorrow, which how I trade this. We have 8:30 going up, making a move up. So if this is going to be, manipulation to go lower, like 9:30 coming lower, right? Then 9:30 should have, came lower, right? But when we see 9:30 make an opposing run, take out a low, create SMT, and then continue off that, that is a bullish signature, right? So then we can trust this expansion. Now for targets for this day, it really only have to target the previous, like the daily open, basically. That would be the only logical thing, honestly. Maybe these highs, you could say, but this is like a pretty decent target, right? Because we have no established high. It's just a wick. So price will come back to create the daily wick here. Right, so when we look here, you see that SMT, right? So when we close over this, that is a continuation signature with a driver, a protected low. So then this low we can feel comfortable trading away from to get to our draw. That's always what you want. You basically have a draw. You want to trade away from protected low. And at this point, you had I believe we had a fractal model here, right? You have a 15-minute candle closure, and I believe there's a 2 minutes. Yeah, this is technically valid right here. So if I just move this here, I was going to take this. We have that intercandle CSD, right? So this is valid right here, by the way. But the risk was bonkers. If I show you, it was absolutely insane. I can't show you in replay. Hold on. I believe the risk was absolutely insane. Okay, I can't show you. It was like $800 for this, and I'm not risking $800 on this. I could have did it on with micros, but I just decided to stay out. But yeah, this could have been valid, right? To wherever. Does this make sense? Does the entry make sense? So if I show you here, the only thing that also threw me off is there's no wick on the 15-minute candle. That kind of threw me off, which is the 10 a.m. open, by the way. So that kind of threw me off a little bit as well. Forgot about that. That's why I didn't take this, but it's technically valid mechanically, and it worked out. Does that entry make sense? My watch list? Oh, thank you guys. Yeah, I can go through the yeah, 40-point stop loss. I was just not about to do that personally, but it's technically valid. Okay, I'll go over the logic one more time. So the daily profile, it's not really that clean, to be honest with you. So what we had previously, basically to relevant time. If I just bar replay price before this expansion, you're gonna see that we had no wick for the daily candle, and we're coming off of previous days of expansion, right? So we expand, consolidate. Now we're taking out this low, but as we know, this opposing run is quite large. So I'm not gonna say that this is some clean profile where like it's super obvious to come back this high, but when the relevant time openings, they kind of confirm that, and I'm going to show you why. So basically, we expand lower, right, in London, right, and it's met with expansion, right. That right there, whenever you see expansion, met with expansion, that's typically a reversal signature, right, via phases of price. So if this is going to be some sort of maybe reversal off of this high, it's just going to be a reversal off this high, the 930 should have expanded lower. But when it fails to do that, when it makes an opposing run, takes out the short-term low, creates SMT, and then we're getting a fractal model confirming higher prices, then it's kind of a red flag. And at that point, it kind of confirms higher prices, right? And the only place we can really look is this here. This basically the daily open, we have no wick. We can look past that, look up here, but that's that could be after like that could be for managing and stuff, but this is our true TP1. This is where our eyes lie. So right, we have a 6 a.m. open, low, high, close. If we want 10 a.m., what do we expect 10 a.m. to do, right? If there's already a reversal, there's already a relevant established low put in, then this low, if we're going to get a 10 a.m. open, low, high, close, this low should stay intact. Essentially what we see, but there's no wick at 10 a.m. either. So it's a bit weird there. But I was showing the fractal model, right, where we have 830 going up, right? So possibly continuation lower, just because we have these opposing candles here, right? And then these opposing candles fail to support price because we take out this high. It's like if we're gonna reverse off this high, like I said, 930 should have went lower, but it never did. It actually formed an SMT here. And then 15-minute model, right? 15-minute fractal model. And yeah, it's valid mechanically to go ahead and target this high. It's not a high, but that daily opening price, a little bit advanced there, but it's nothing super clean in my opinion. So if you miss that, it's nothing to be concerned about because the daily profile isn't really there. Like the reversal of the day is happening at 7 a.m. the opposing candle, the opposing run is also just not aligning. So it's a bit weird day, to be honest. Uh, yeah, it's nothing like super clean in my eyes. Why do you use 6 p.m. versus midnight? Oh, that's what it's taught in the course. So in my opinion, when we think about open, high, low, close, we use like for the 4 hour, right? We use the opening price of the actual candle. For the weekly open, we use the opening price of the actual candle. But for some reason, like ICT teaches that midnight open is the opening. It doesn't make sense. It never made sense to me. So even prior to the, seeing the lens content, I also use the daily open. Because when you think about expansion candles, any time frame, we want to trade expansion, right? And they all have these small opposing runs, right? So it just makes sense. It's just the way candles form, right? So I'm not really concerned about midnight open. It's more of a theory, actually, if anything. Um, yeah, I'm more concerned about, the function of open, high, low, close. Not really a time-based algorithm. You know, that's my opinion on it. Hello. Do you trade strictly 15-minute, 1 minute, or do you dabble the 1 hour, 5 minute? I trade. So I'll go over my approach tomorrow. But yeah, I trade essentially like the way I like to trade. I'm gonna show you this example just on FX replay. I was just back testing, but this is how I like to trade. I like to trade away from manipulation. Okay, on all time frames essentially. I'll just go over this example here. Why not? So on a daily chart, right? It's always best when you're trading away from some sort of manipulation. So this weekly profile, we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday consolidation, and then Thursday we manipulate this external low, and also form SMT here. So for Friday, the protocol is continuation. So Thursday manipulation, Friday continuation. And to confirm this, inside of this candle here, I want to trade away from some relevant level, right? Either It's either inside of this candle here, there's going to be a relevant level for the low of the day to form. But ideally, the low of this candle actually forms some sort of manipulation or opposing candle that I can trade away from during relevant times. So like 9:30, 10 o'clock. So I'm going to go into this level. I like to use 4 hour candles as well. So here we have the 6 a.m. 4 hour candle running out this low. So this is viewed as manipulation, right? So I can assume that 10 a.m. will just expand. It's much like the daily chart. I view it the same as the daily chart any time frame. We have Thursday running out of low, so I expect the next day to expand. It's the same approach. And I view this as, I want to see that small opposing run. All right, for this wick, to basically confirm expansion. So when I drop lower, we want to use a time driver, right? Whenever you're framing a higher low of the day in New York session, I always like to see a reversal in New York session, actually. I can revert to relevant times. So I could revert to 9:30 every single day. I can revert to news drivers, right? Where we have 8:30 right here news. It does nothing. Right? It takes up this low, but there's no continuation through it. There's no confirmation, right? So this is when you have to revert to 9:30. So as you see prior to 9:30, we take out this low. And then if this is going to be a valid manipulation, then what will 9:30 do? It'll expand, right? So this is where you see this here. Right, so when I come into 10 a.m., I already have a reversal confirmed for the day, right? And this is really the only relevant area for the low of the day to form. And you're going to get a feel for this. Right? When you manipulate, creating that small opposing run for the daily time frame, this will be the only relevant area for the day to reverse. It doesn't need to come way down here. This is exactly where you'd want to see it. If you look at the previous day as well, have this opposing candle, right? So there's a couple of, this is just a really good example, right? You have this opposing candle, and then 9 a.m. 1 hour candle, right? 9:30 is internal to this candle. We have this opposing candle. So you can really be aggressive with the way you enter 10 a.m. candle, because after manipulation, we expect expansion. This is why I love to trade after manipulation. It's because you can anticipate expansion. This is what is supposed to happen. We're supposed to, you know, move away from this low very aggressively. So I want to trade around the opening price, much like T does, where he wants to enter around the opening price to basically catch the expansion, right? You want to basically confirm the wick to catch the expansion. And so I always use daily profiles, right? So with this daily profile, if you just think about phases of price, expansion, consolidation, and the previous two sessions, we know we can't reverse from a consolidation. So when we look like we're going to reverse, where we take at the opposing side of the range first, this is just manipulation to basically creating the low today to then expand, right? So when I go to lower time frames, I don't have a strict entry criteria necessarily. I just want to confirm that low of this 10 a.m. candle. And you can be aggressive here, and I will go over my strategy. You can be super aggressive here with the way you look to enter this trade because we are in expansion, right? We don't expect price to come way down here. That's an invalidation, right? And because we manipulated, we should expand with speed until we hit a high. So if I can get involved instead of this wick, right? If I can just get a chain of state delivery instead of this wick, I can enter this trade because I know that we should expand at least until we hit a high. This is when we could potentially reverse, not reverse, but maybe retrace. But prior to that, I don't expect that. That's actually an invalidation. So all I'm looking for is an opposing run, right, on some time frame. And I see these two clear candles on the 3-minute, and we form an ideal swing formation, right? So that's my entry. It's as simple as that. I don't even think this is a fractal model. Oh, it is. It actually is. So you see how this is a candle 3 or candle 2, right? And this candle 3, opposing run, intra candle chain of state delivery. So I can just enter that, my stop loss here. Because this is important. It's because we haven't taken anything out yet. That's why, guys. This is why this is so. This is why you can actually enter this really aggressively. And yeah, you can just partial up here where we have failure swings, right? Failure swings up here as well. So again, if you look fractally here, I'm going to teach you guys some models that you can approach to any time frame really. So notice how it's the same thing on the daily. I'm going to show you. Go on the daily time frame. What is it? It's manipulation. It's manipulation of a range low, distribution to a range high. Same thing on the hourly. It's very clear. When I drop to the hourly, when you see failure swings at the opposing side of manipulation, this is ideal, right? So manipulation, SMT, expansion away. That's the signature of reversal. Like I said, expansion, method expansion, and then failure swings. And then I go over to the intraday, expansion into the low, failure swings on the opposing side. You see that how it's the same thing. We see the expansion, method expansion, right? It's all the same thing, guys. And this is how I look to trade every single day. This is the profiles I look to trade. This is another 2 good examples here where we have, I'll just go over this example here. I'll go ahead and clear all this stuff out. But when I look at what the previous day did here, right, we just consolidated, right? So expansion, consolidation, we manipulate this high with SMT. So again, this is where I want to get involved, right? I want to take this trade. What do I see on the opposing side of manipulation? Failure swings, right? So I'm aligning a manipulation and with the SMT, right? What time do we manipulate? 9 o'clock, 9:30, right? This is what I want to trade, right? These lows, right? So previous day, large expansion, you can trade back into that range essentially. But this day is really clean because now we have a protected high here. Right, if I look here, we have a range from high to low. And in the previous 2 sessions, we more so just drift higher. That's what we want to see. So we have no established low today. It's literally nothing, right? It's just slow, retracement. So when we manipulate this high, and then form SMT here, this is what I want to trade, right? To the previous low. So do you see how it's just more so the same thing of just manipulation? This is how I look to trade. I only trade manipulation. After manipulation, then I can look to trade, fair value gaps, opposing candles on the lower time frames, and all that. But I need to see a manipulation. And notice how this forms the high of the day. And I'm also trading 10 a.m. expansion candle. So 10 a.m. goes, where's the open at? It's right here. Open high, SMT, manipulation at the high of that candle, creating a small opposing run. And I can expect basic expansion, right? Does that make sense? So this is where I look for fractal models, right? We have a candle to closure after manipulation, creating the high of the day. That's very important. And then I can look to trade this candle through expansion. But we'll go over this tomorrow a lot. I actually trade candle twos. Like I will trade this reversal into expansion, right? I don't wait for this candle to close in particular. That's just something I do. I don't really want to confuse people, but you will see the way I approach. It might help you a lot. Just waiting for like daily profiles, manipulation. It's a very easy approach and it filters out a lot of stuff. Now I'm gonna go over some stuff that I took last week. It's really clean. Nothing this week was so clean. Did you analyze CL today? Yeah, 8 a.m. hourly candle takeouts Monday. Okay, so we're CL. CL this week, I was actually bullish on CL because of the way. But if you look at CL, it's absolutely disgusting. Like this, we're just ranging, right? We're just ranging from high to low, right? And we just left these equal highs. There's no wick at Monday open. So if we go over today on CL, right, we really have just these lows being swept. Ideally, if I was going to trade this day, if we opened up near the lows, that'd be better because then we could form that small opposing run to really anticipate expansion. But I didn't really see anything too clean today because of this. If we formed like SMT here, that'd be great. The daily profile does support bullishness though, right? Because when you look at the daily highs, this is the daily high. It's nothing relevant, right? It's just equal highs here, really. So again, I like to trade back to session highs in New York session. If I look at the correlated asset, it's a lot stronger, right? So it maybe does make sense in a way. We have that smaller opposing run here, but now like if you look here, you do have an SMT inside of here, so this could be valid, right? This expansion here, right? We have the way the daily candle forms as well is also a bullish candle where we open up low first and then we expand, creating opposing candles. Right, that's all valid and stuff. It's just the daily doesn't really support it. You're basically creating a reversal, which is something that is not really taught in this course. It's not really something that we focus on. We more so focus on like continuation. But let's look here. So yeah, so like this is technically valid because if you go through the course, if I show you here on CL, we actually take out this low here. So we actually revert to these. So you see the 915 candles. You would actually revert to this as the CSD because the other asset took out these lows. So this is a valid intra-candle CSD to trade higher. That stop loss is crazy though. I would put my stop loss probably at the bodies. So what you have here basically, like I said, we have manipulation. It's on the daily time frame now. So like I said, love to trade away from manipulation. Here, there's no manipulation though. On a CL there is, right? The correlated asset. We clearly take out lows, but RB is much weaker on the daily time frame. Then that strength kind of switches intraday. But yeah, we open up low and we create the Chinese delivery in London session. So you could assume bullishness maybe to this fair value gap or something, right? It's just not as clean, right? But mechanically, this is valid. Technically. and then you get. No, that's not technically something I would take, but this is technically valid here. This is the only thing I really saw, though. I wouldn't really sell this. Reason being, if you look at the daily, if you look at the weekly profile, every single day was a bearish candle. So it's not really something you want to look for. This is like a TGIF almost, right? Because we don't look for 5 days of expansion inside of the week. So it does make sense for bullishness a little bit. It does make sense. If you want to approach it that way, right? Gasoline correlated asset for crude oil. Oh, it's still, yeah. So look, you asked what gold is as well. What is the correlate? Oh, yeah, I got you. So I'm going to show you the correlated assets here. So for CL, for oil, it's going to be RB1. So it's these two assets right here. Go ahead and make them red. For gold, it's going to be obviously gold. It's going to be silver, and it's also going to be euro. It's going to be XAU euro, very correlated. Right. On gold, we take out this high. Or sorry, on euro, we take it this high. On gold, we don't. Right. So when we expansion with SMT at the highs, that's even like better, right? This is already a reversal signature where we expand with expansion. So I wanted these lows for this week. I didn't really catch a trade because we never formed an established high of the week. Really, if you look, it's just like failure swings, which is not something that I look to trade. I don't know if you guys were in a stream. I tried to short this day, but it makes sense why we didn't really do that. We didn't really form anything clean there. Yeah, nothing here was that clean on gold this week. You have some nice intra-candle chain state deliveries. Maybe there's SMT and stuff, but I didn't really look too deep into it. Okay, so get to some. Hello, Garrett. Okay, I already went over that. Yeah, I'm gonna go over really. I don't know if I'm gonna reveal my like how I trade, tomorrow. But yeah, we'll definitely get into it though. It's essentially like it's almost like AM's approach where he wants to trade away from manipulation, right? But I use the fractal model. I use intra-candle chain state delivery a lot. I use that small opposing run logic a lot, and I trade 4-hour candles. So I almost trade the 4-hour, like the daily candle almost. And I use daily profiles a lot. I'll really share some nice daily profiles for you guys that are like really good. Is this being recorded? I think it is. Do you wait for C2 or CT or C3 closure before looking for a CSD and an entry? So me personally, I will trade candle 2. I'm gonna show you how. So when you think about a candle 2 closure, right, there's only 2 ways a candle 2 can form. Let's go ahead and make this. It's essentially like right, a large wick, small body, basically. This is what we do not want to trade. Hold on. I'm trying to make this as. Go ahead and copy this for you. I have a candle like right here or something, whatever, right? Where it sweeps out this high. All right, so this would be a candle 2, right? Where we have that large opposing run from the open, which is not something you want to trade, right? Because this doesn't support expansion lower, right? Basically, if we hit a key level, that's the only way you can actually anticipate a candle 2 expansion lower. Other than that, there's no other way. And I look for this inside of like basically potential high and low of the day candidates for the daily profile lines. So there's a lot of nuance that goes into it, which I could go over tomorrow. But okay, so the other version of this and I'll show some examples in a minute, is when we basically when the previous candle, let's say, manipulates, it basically trades into a high. So I already expect a reversal to happen, right? But what I need to actually trade this candle is that small opposing run, kind of like AM does it. All right, we're opening up next to this candle's high, and I need that small opposing run sweeping out that high. So it's a reversal candle, but it has that small opposing run where it supports expansion. If I change this to white, see how this supports expansion? This one doesn't, because look at the opposing run, right, from the open, right? So when I see a change, intra-candle change state delivery, I will look to enter that based on catching this expansion. And we'll go over some examples like right now. Does that kind of make sense to everyone or not? That kind of makes sense? Yeah. Okay, um so basically if it has that large opposing run, that's an invalidation. So I will wait for the next candle to trade lower. And this is just going to be like the regular fractal model, right? But I will look to trade this. So I'm gonna have to find some examples basically. It's almost like this. It's like honestly both of these. So I traded both of these days. So I traded this here though. So let me just go over the logic why we couldn't even anticipate a reversal this day. So first off, you have to be able to anticipate a reversal, right? And this is that same logic. So you have 3 days of a consecutive expansion into an objective. So this is when we get that Thursday counter profile, right? And notice how this day is an expansion candle. So we're opening up to that previous day's high, which we can reference as a reversal point. And mind you, we have the SMT with gold euro. Right? That's just added influence. So if we get that small opposing run from this high, then we can look to trade that lower rate. And whether you're like an hourly trader or even a 5-minute trader, like this is how I view it. Basically, this is the only relevant area for the higher data form, essentially. Now, ideally, maybe this is like Asia session and this is London session. I don't trade Asia session, but it's the same logic, right? We're opening up near this reversal point, so I can look to trade this candle too, right? And I can't really tell. Hold on. I can't tell if this is a. Okay, no, that's not a. Just pretend that this was a opposing candle, because honestly, I don't know like where it starts. Maybe it starts way down here, but this is how we would do it, right? Have the small opposing run. The opening of the candle starts here, opens up, creates the intercandle CSD internally to C2. So I look to trade this basically. That's how I do it. But it has to be at very relevant areas. But if I go over here, I traded this. I'll show you both possible entries here. This is probably a trade I will go over tomorrow as well. Where if I go to the daily chart, this is the only relevant target because we have Monday, Tuesday expansion. Basically, we're failing to reverse from this high. So if we're going to fail to reverse from this high, where do we go? Where do we draw to? The next high, right? So very obvious draw on liquidity for this day. Now, it's just about trading away from some relevant area inside of this candle to then target this low or this high. That's all trading is really. It's having a draw on liquidity, trading away from established low to get to that draw on liquidity. That's literally all trading is, to be honest. So when I open up New York session, I see that we have no established low of the day. So when I come to 8 o'clock, when I come to charts of 8 o'clock, this is the only relevant area for the low today to form. Like, does not just make sense? Right? I'm not trusting any of these lows. So even if we close over this, I don't trade this, by the way. I look for a manipulation. This is not manipulation, right? So that's what I mean when I'm kind of picky the way I trade. So I demand this to be traded into. I also demand ideally SMT, which is what we have. right? We have that opposing run, right? It's not too large. I'm gonna show you why we can trade this. It's because of the news event. So we have CPI this day, I believe. I think we do, right? Yeah. So Wednesday, CPI. So basically, we manipulate prior to the open, so the news event open. So when we trade away from that manipulation, that's a confirmation. Basically, that's how you use news to your advantage. And so yeah, it's the same thing, right? Where internally to that C2, we create this reversal expansion, mouth expansion, CSD, and yeah, we're basically getting that intracandle CSD and candle 2, which you could trade. Now I came to the charts a little bit later, so I waited for this candle to close. So now it's just the regular fractal model, right? Where we have candle 2 reversal into expansion, and then I want to trade this candle higher. So when we come and sweep up this low, again trading away from some sort of manipulation, and then we get that ideal swing formation, right? Where we validate this opposing candle as an order block, and it's just a swing formation, right, on the third candle. So I enter here, stop loss here, and I target that high. And notice again, I have manipulation, right, expansion, but we have yet to actually expand. This is when you want to get involved. After we take up this high, it's automatically lower probability. You ideally want to get in before we expand. So not only in price, but also inside of candles. So you want to get in before we expand inside of candles. So it's not good to enter a candle like way up here. You want to get involved before we actually expand. So that's what I'm doing, right? I'm getting involved before we actually expand. So that's not only in price, but that's also inside of candles, you know? So when I zoom out, where is that target at? It's right here. This is my draw. I just took everything off right here. No partials. It's about 2.8 R. Right? So yeah, very simple. And you see the daily profile, right? Just trading away from manipulation. So this manipulation is creating the low of the day. It's creating the low of the day. That is key to my trading. I need to see it create the low of the day at a relevant time. It's usually New York session. That makes sense. It's a very simple way to trade, in my opinion. It is what TT calls C3. Wait, what is? That candle 3, candle 2 reversal expansion he calls candle 3? Okay, let's see what else. Yeah, but tomorrow is my stream. I don't know what I'm gonna go over. Like, I don't know if I really dive. I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. Because if we go over my whole thing, it might be like hours, which we can break it down into like multiple weeks. Um, so would you choose? It's either or. It doesn't matter. It's SMT is a confluence, so it's not like it's totally necessary. But yeah, you're either gonna have it either or. It's just like it's almost like indices. You have YM, ES, and NQ, but they're actually more correlated. I would say the gold, like gold, euro, and you know, gold and silver are actually more correlated than YM is. Yeah, gold last week was like actually insane. So good. It was actually so good. Any idea on how to capitalize on moves rather than cutting them short? Sure. Not always, of course, but okay. So there's a big, there's like an if then, like it's very scenario based. So if you're gonna actually, like, let's say you get positioned. Trying to think of an example here. Basically at the high today, kind of like this. like kind of like your position at the low of the day, then this is where you do not want to cut at 2R. But if you get positioned, let's say like up here, it's a lot different, right? But if you're positioned down here, you can actually hold to your targets, Does that make sense? Because this right here, again, you're getting involved before expansion inside of that candle wick. Inside of here, you're getting involved inside of premium. You kind of want to manage aggressively because it's more probable to like turn back on you and stuff. More likely to turn back because you don't know when that new phase is coming after expansion. But after manipulation, we know that expansion comes, right? So when you're involved prior to the expansion, you're catching the expansion, you can be way more aggressive. Because at this point, the daily candle hasn't even expanded yet, So ideally, when you come to New York session and you're looking for a New York manipulation, ideally it's best if the daily range hasn't even been created yet. It's just consolidation or something. That's the best. Because then New York has to create that expansion. What does the blue, orange, and green? Oh, this is sessions. So I use green for Asia, blue for London, orange for New York. It's like the kill zones. What pairs would you say move the cleanest? Indices, CL, and gold, probably. I will show you yesterday was actually like, I also trade like other assets, only when they're clean though. So I'm going to show you this day, last week, which I traded. So I traded this day last week, just because it was super clean. Okay, so when we break it down, we have a Monday low of the week, and we have Monday that didn't really trade into anything relevant. It's just leaving all these failure swings. So generally, I want to trade back to that rate. So I see the previous day we manipulated this high, and so all it is basically is trading away from something that the previous day created, some internal key level, or intraday we're gonna basically form some relevant level to trade away from. So it's either or. So when I look, what the previous day did, I can't really use anything here. Maybe this fair value gap, that's pretty much it. Or this opposing candle, right? But really, again, I like to trade away from manipulation. That's all I look for, and that's my filter in price. So when I see the previous two sessions consolidate, I can say that I am not trusting this opposing candle. It just doesn't make sense, right? Because I see all these failure swings here, right? So if we take those out and then CSD, then I have an established high of the day, creating the opposing run for the day, basically creating that wick for the day, the candle, to then catch expansion. So you're going to see that here. Whoops. Right, we sweep out all these session highs, right? Creating the new daily wick. Is that opposing run small that supports expansion? Yes. So see how the daily candle hasn't even expanded yet? So this is when you get the best manipulations. So you get this opposing candle close, and that's my entry, essentially there. I put my stop loss at the body, or like halfway, kind of aggressive. And I was targeting Monday's low. We never got there. So I had to close at around 1500. Where's 1500? I had to close like right here. Go for like 3 net, almost 4 hours, something like that. But you see how there's manipulation at the high today? It's literally the same exact thing I showed you on gold. It's the same thing you see here. It's always the same thing. It's like, and you know that this should be the high today if we take it out, because when I look at the low today, there's no established low today, so I can't feel confident trading any of these opposing candles, right? doesn't make sense. Just like I can't feel confident about trading any of these opposing candles to the downside because it's just failure swings. So like I said, when we manipulate creating the low of the day, and there's no established high of the day, that is a high probability New York reversal. Same thing here, right? You manipulate creating the high of the day. There's no established low of the day. High probability New York reversal. That's all I look for, bro. And it gives you a very high win rate. You know exactly where you're looking for a reversal. You know exactly when it should happen. You can use drivers. It's really cool. Is that only on indices, or it's at forex as well? It's just like if I go to forex, you're gonna basically apply this logic, but to the and Asia and London kill zone a lot of the times. Like we'll try to find an example here or something. Looking for an Asia small range and some sort of manipulation. But like over here, this is like a really good example. Right, so if you had a bearish bias, right, and you see Asia small range, we manipulate a range high, distribute to the range low, right? You get that expansion, met with expansion, reversal signature. And this is where you want to look for SMT, right? You want to pair a manipulation with an SMT. So you have it right here, right? Previous is high, SMT, right? So see how simple that is? This could be your entry, right? If I go to the 15-minute here, this is where I look. So I wouldn't trade this candle here necessarily because, again, look at that posing run. I'm not going to trade this candle too, but I could look for an intra-candle chain of stick delivery side of the next candle, right? Because after manipulation, we should distribute with speed, right? So I can trust these like opposing candles right here. These intra-candle chain of stick delivery. So this is what I look for inside of whatever you call it, distribution, right? And what you're going to notice is, inside of a distribution, I'm going to have 4-hour and hourly expansion candles. So this is when you're going to have a ton of intra-candle chain of state deliveries, right? So basically, this 1 hour candle or this 1 hour candle, it creates an opposing candle, open, high. Whoops. It's going to open, high, and creates the high of the wick. Then you can just enter that, right? Because we're trading away from manipulation. Now, ideally, this is where you want to be involved, right? Like I said, this is the perfect candle. And like what I mentioned earlier, how we use the 4-hour candle a lot. I view this 4-hour candle as manipulation. Then I trade this candle lower, right? So inside of this 4-hour candle, you're going to have 1-hour expansion candles. So it's very interesting. I'll show you guys tomorrow. But essentially here, the 1-hour candle right here, it opens up near a what is this called? What was this called again? Like a relevant, I guess, reversal point. I don't know. I forgot the word for it, but we can already anticipate the high of this candle, the new open, to form inside of this range, right? So you can either enter that, basically entering near the open of that new 1-hour candle and anticipating that it goes lower, right? Or you can wait for some intra-candle CSD. But yeah, this is the really good entry here. And then you're going to look for SMT here as well, or looking for SMT everywhere inside of this distribution leg for protected highs and lows. But yeah, I'll show you guys tomorrow. Yeah, that's how you do it if you're a a London trader. But if you're a New York trader, the same thing. If I go here, right, this is how I view it as well. I don't need to see this candle necessarily sweep up this candle out. But I don't want to really get into that. It might just throw you guys off a lot. But if you just go to the daily profile, right? Expansion, we're just retracing. This is where we look for SMT here as well, or some SMT in the lower time frame. And then you're going to get your CSD to confirm the high of the day for a classic sell day, right? Should we get some internally? So I'm not going to use the hourly CSD here, way too far away. Then we filter it down. I'm not going to use 30 minutes, too far away. I really can't even use I can't even use the 15-minute, but we eventually get it, right? If you're going to come into a New York session, you would anticipate a New York continuation, right? And then you form a swing point on the 4-hour time frame with a very strong close. So we can anticipate 9 a.m. 4-hour candle to attack this original consolidation. So it's like that 1-hour example I showed you earlier, where the candle is opening near a reversal point, right? Or a new, dude, what is invalidation point? That's what it is. Like, this is an invalidation point, right? You want to see these opposing candles hold. So you can either enter this, right? Because you're catching the wick. You're anticipating the wick to form here, right? And you don't really want to necessarily enter. So if I bar replay this, you don't want to enter near or like inside of the discount of this expansion candle, because price could easily do this. If you enter way down here, the new open could just do this: open, high, take you out, and then go. So just wait for that new open, right? And it forms a new invalidation point. So you can either wait for some 5-minute opposing candle, creating that wick inside of this key level. There's many ways to do it, but a lot of it is just the way it's taught in the course, right? If I go here, look, you have an opposing candle there that creates that opposing ring. That's a possible entry, right? See, that works. See, that kind of works there. But again, we'll go over that later. And this would just be a continuation of this range, right? The previous expanding, the other 2 sessions retracing. Now this opposing run is quite large, but I'm not going to long this day. It doesn't make sense because they're just failure swings at the low of the day. So that's not something you want to long, you know? It only makes sense to do that. And with all things considered, like a weekly profile, you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, creating a swing point. You have a draw still open to the left. You have an ideal swing formation on the daily time frame. The high of the day being created inside of that, those opposing candles inside of the lower half of that. Right, so yeah, you definitely want to be bearish that day. But it's the same process on all you know, assets. Today is taking out a low from yesterday. Would we then look for longs Monday? Yeah, so like for longs Monday, it's actually setting up for that possibly. So, right, it's the same approach where we're taking out lows and then we're aggressively reversing. So like for this example, so I traded this day, right? Because the weekly opens here. Friday, we took out this low and created SMT here. So if this is going to be a bullish day, it would reverse this day. And this is something I'm going to go over, how reversals form between 1 or 2 candles, like always, essentially. Like off this high, for example, if price is going to reverse off this high, again, I'm counting candle 1 as really the first candle hits key level, obviously. And then we can already anticipate a reversal happening because of the previous candle hit the high, right? It's an expansion candle, so we're opening near that high. See, we're opening near the low of this candle. So I can revert to that previous candle's high and low, the previous day's high and low, as a reversal point. But something I'm going to like share with you guys. You see it here as well, where first candle, it's going to reverse in 1 or 2 candles. Here we reverse in 1. Here we reverse in 1. This low, first candle. Here we reverse in 1. You know, here though, for example, if this is going to be a reversal, then obviously we have a reversal inside of this candle's wick. We have a chain of state delivery, very kind of ugly. But essentially, all we'd want to see is a daily profile support this. So, like maybe an Asia consolidation, London takes out this low, then that would be a classic buy day to basically support expansion. And basically, this manipulation is created in the lower half of this candle's range. And here we're not going to use this wick because we wouldn't want to see price go open low all the way down here. That makes sense. So this is when we revert to this large candle's range, open low, ideally in the upper half of that, create that established low today. So all we want to see is established low today, essentially. Like if I show you an example that I traded last week, here. So what we have is this high. So coming today, you may think bearishness, right? You may think that, right? Because we're sweeping up this high. Same logic, by the way, where if we're going to get a new phase of price off this high, it's going to happen the next day, and we can anticipate a reverse off this high, right? But what we see is a very weak closure in this candle. And if I break it down to the hourly time frame, I have expansion, met with expansion, right? And I don't really have anything to revert to. I don't have an opposing candle, but I have that reversal signature, right? So all I'm waiting for is intraday to create an established low, which is right here. So if you are a London trader, it's a very, very good entry, right? Because we have expansion of expansion, consolidation, manipulation, creating the daily wick, and then you have this opposing candle to trade there. So in New York session, when we come back to this here, I'm looking for continuation towards this high, right? Because the daily range hasn't yet expanded, but like very far. So this is when I can expect some sort of New York continuation. And that's what we do. We expand. We don't get this high, but I had to close again like at 1500. And then we have this here. We sweep at this low on the other asset. And then the 10 a.m. open, I'm already anticipating for it to form its wick inside of this opposing candle because we've already reversed from this reversal point on the hourly time frame. So if we're going to continue off this low, then this is going to hold, right? And then we're going to get that 10 a.m. open low, creating that small wick. You can either wait for this retest or you can wait for an intra-candle chain of state delivery for confirmation. I'm telling you, this intra-candle chain of state delivery is one of the best concepts in this course, bro. It's so good. Like here, like I said, you have that 10 a.m. open, we drift lower into that 15-minute set of opposing candles, and we create this protected low. This is your intra-candle chain of state delivery. This essentially confirms that 10 a.m. 4-hour low, right? So you can enter here. That's a possibility. For continuation, again, inside of a 4-hour expansion candle, you're going to have 1-hour expansion candles. And it's the same thing. Oops. Right, we open up, open low. Ideally, we sweep out these lows. Let me check if there's SMT. 1030. What the heck? Hold on, 1050. 1050. Okay, clear SMT, right? Yeah, clear SMT. So this is where we want to look for SMT and opposing candles around the opening price of these candles for redistribution, right? This is where we catch those expansions, right? That makes sense? But I'll probably go into this more in depth tomorrow. Probably in this pretty soon. Outside of session. What do you mean? I think I trade in session for the majority time. Like I come to charts around like 8 o'clock. So yeah. I chickened out of GU trade. I entered at the top end for TP at previous low around 7 off. But then because he traded, do you enter on pair which manipulated these lows and lows? I mean, ideally, when I enter, if I'm going to be bullish, I want to enter the stronger pair, right? But on the weaker pair, you want to see that willingness to trade away from the low. So basically, like, yeah, it's the weaker pair, but you still want to see price actually expand away from that low. And inside of like really correlated markets, when price is actually correlated and we get an SMT, it's going to do that. But when price is not correlated, then SMT almost doesn't matter. It literally, like, it's not that, actually important. Oh yeah, watch list. I got you. So I'm a futures trader. So I trade indices mainly. So I dabble into YM sometimes. I don't really trade RTY. I just have it there. But I mainly trade NQ, ES. This is my main. And then gold. It's really just gold. Like, I don't really execute on silver much. I can't execute on CFD. I just use it for SMT. So really, these two pairs are just for SMT. And then I trade CL. RB is just the correlated asset. So it's really just 3 assets. You see a bunch of assets here, but it's just 3 assets. And then you have natural gas. There's no SMT correlation with this. So I demand, so like a trade like this, I actually demand a manipulation if I can't. Like all these pairs you see, I have to see manipulation here because I don't have, I don't have, what's it called, bro? SMT to refer to. So there's actually a clean profile the other day. Oh yeah. So this is more so the stuff that I like to trade. Back-to-back profiles here, guys. So look, very, very simple. So I have a range high. So Monday consolidation, Tuesday manipulation. Right, so check out how the daily profile really tells you what price is going to do, right? It basically, like, on the opposing side of this manipulation, I see consolidation, right? So I don't trust to trade away from these little lows. I don't trust that. So you can actually anticipate to expand into these lows and the previous low. Now, to anticipate this reversal is a different story, right? Not literally something that you can anticipate as easy. But when the daily closes, I see that a reversal has been put in, right? Because expansion, method expansion, CSD, candle 2 closure. So potential Tuesday low of the week, right? So when I go into this day here, again, I want to see continuation profile, right? Where we have no established high of the day. This is always ideal. We have no established high of the day, right? It's just A's session, just failure swings. So when we basically have this change of state delivery in the hourly time frame at a relevant time, you manipulate these lows here. This is where we want to trade, right? So if we break it down, it's just, right, just consolidation really, and then expansion, some sort of consolidation, expansion into the consolidation low, expansion away, which would be in an AMD, right? Consolidation, manipulation, expansion. That expansion with expansion is that reversal signature. So this is where you want to look for your fractal models and stuff, is when you're actually trading away from a relevant low, right? And you have a high to trade to. So all it is basically high resistance into low resistance, right? And so we have this candle 2 into these lows. This is where you want to look for candle 3. Now, obviously, it gets validated here, and you don't really get an opportunity here. I mean, does it retest there? No, it does not retest. That's unfortunate. But you see how that works, right? Same thing. But this is like I said, this is the highest probable move of the day. Looking for continuations is always going to be harder, in my opinion, because when you take out external range liquidity, when we expand it into an external range of liquidity, this is when we consolidate or retrace, you know. So ideally, this is the easiest move, is trading away from manipulation into a draw, right? Once this is taken out, I literally no longer have like a target anymore, right? It's just continuation, which is harder in my opinion. Like in this case, we would want to see this support price higher, right? It's just choppy, you know? It's not going to be as clean as trading away from manipulation near the daily open, right? Into these highs. So that kind of makes sense. It's just like choppy, but this day here was also interesting. We had this high to the left, and again, we take out this high. What do? We consolidate. We chop around. So if you ever want to get back into distribution, you need manipulation or something, right? We basically need to trade away from something. So when we trade away from this manipulation, right, 6 a.m. manipulation, 10 a.m. distribution. This is how I use the 4-hour candles, right? Basically, when I go to the 5-minute, the only opposing candles here. So I can't really use anything here, to be honest. But this is how I look to trade, right? Ideally, the reversals down here, and I would trade this manipulation to this high, this external range of liquidity. That makes sense. And you can revert to the opposing side of the curve. You want to see opposing PDRs fail and support price higher. And here you see that the hourly expansion candles, right? The small opposing runs, right? That's our confirmation when we close over the opposing candles that create the opposing run. So this is just an intra-candle CSD. See that? So this is the ideal area to get in if we had that confirmation down here, but it's technically right here, right? Does that make sense? You see here, we have open low, create the intra-candle CSD without taking out this high. This is what makes this valid, is because we didn't take out this high yet. You should have something to target. This is creating that small opposing run, right? Sweeping out this little low. So this is a nice trade actually right here. But yeah, the way I trade is very simple. I'll show you guys tomorrow. Probably go over that. On copper example, why you didn't look into Thursday's candle? Oh, I did. So look here. So yeah, you're totally right. That's totally valid to assume that. And ideally, that I wish that was the day that expanded. But what you're going to see is it gets invalidated essentially. So prior to the open, we have a reversal, right? We have a candle 2 closure. This is exactly what you want to see. And I would anticipate expansion the next day every single time, but it just doesn't work out here. So you have that candle 2, or not candle 2, you have that CSD, right? And you have consolidation here, right? So ideally, this is what we want to see. Open high into this, and then expansion lower. That's what we want to see. That's the only scenario because I'm not going to trade away from these highs. So I need to see manipulation. So, but when we open up, we just expand through them. Now we're creating a large opposing run. And again, I don't want to trade this candle because it doesn't support expansion to the downside with that larger opposing run. And then we end up just taking out this high up here. So I have to wait for this day to close. It's literally the same scenario as this day. They're the same thing, essentially. But this consolidation here, it actually gets printed internally to this candle here. So when I open up New York session, I am not going to trade away from these highs, just like I wasn't going to trade away from these highs inside of this day. I need to see these highs get taken out. So inside of this day here, I need to see these highs get taken out. I need to see a reversal print, which is what happens, right? It's really these highs, sorry. So that's what I traded. And you have that small opposing run. You see the difference? Large opposing run, small opposing run. Manipulation at the high of the day. So yeah, it is valid to look at. It just got invalidated. How do you target the draw? I mean, if I am trading on 5 minute, what draw I look for? So ideally, it's going to be like unestablished highs of the day. So like if I go here, I had this manipulation. My first target goes to the hourly. So really, your target's going to be the hourly time frame and whatever higher time frame draw you have. So this is like the daily high right here, right? So stuff like that. On the hourly time frame, the daily time frame is what our eyes draw to. But it doesn't make sense to take majority of a position off here because of the narrative, right? We have daily manipulation, intraday, low of the day confirmed. So it's like the day has yet to expand, so it's going to expand somewhere, and our eyes draw to this daily high. Not really this. I wouldn't want to see a reversal here. That wouldn't really make sense. If that makes sense, kind of. Having a couple of instruments on your watch list, how do you choose what pairs? Like I said, I have a very specific approach where it's literally basically it requires manipulation. It really requires like a New York reversal most of the time. And so even if I go to like majority of these pairs, it's not even presented like at all. Like this, yeah, it reverses New York, but it doesn't support my profile right this day because of what the previous 2 sessions did. This would be valid if we swept out this high. So again, back-to-back days where I don't get a trade. Here, I don't get a trade either, right? Because if I wanted to trade like to here, I would need this low to be taken in New York session, but it doesn't do it. So it's like I have a very specific approach where like things need to be met with the previous 2 sessions, which I'll teach you guys. I'll go into like here. So I don't know if you guys are in a stream. This is something that I look for, right? I have the previous 2 sessions consolidating. New York is creating the high of the day. I have lows to target. So this is where I want to look for a reversal. I also pair that manipulation with the SMT, right? So this would meet my requirement. This also meets my requirement. This would too. Like all these days meet requirement. This day does not. This day, I did trade this day here. But look here. So like, I go to ES, I think I traded this day. Yeah, I traded ES though. So we're opening up next to that previous high. And when I look at the lows, I just see a bunch of failure swings. So New York manipulation, I can at least target these lows for like a scalp. You know? This day I can't trade this day because there's no established low today. I can trade this day here. I think I did trade this day, but it was so lackluster, but it's the same approach. Like I'm looking for some manipulation in New York to basically trade back to these session highs, right? Previous high here. Right? It's just failure swings. So if you want to make it simple, it's just high resistance, low resistance. That's how I approach it. I trade this day here. This is actually so nice. So here, I have a range low, a range high. He manipulates. Again, it's always manipulation. We manipulate this range low with the SMT. So I'm trading 930 higher. Right? It's as simple as that, basically. We have 930 creating SMT and an opposing candle. So again, there's your reversal signature. And yeah, that's what I want to trade, right? Higher. Yeah, again, what do I have? Unestablished highs. It's the same thing every single time, but it's not a an everyday. It doesn't happen every day, right? Here I traded this day as well. Again, consolidation, previous 2 sessions. So when we create some manipulation up here, I can trade back to these lows because right there's not established lows. So I have the new day opening gap here or new week that I could target. I traded that day. What else? Oh yeah, these days back to back, I also traded. You essentially have a range low, range high. I think I traded NQ though. Hold on, put it NQ here. Yeah, I traded NQ. So you have Monday consolidation, Tuesday manipulation. Right, so look inside it. Look at the opposing side of this manipulation. What do I have? Session highs, failure swings. Right, so this is when I want to trade. Basically, 10 a.m. expansion. So I have 6 a.m. manipulation. I can revert to the 10 a.m. candle to make that small closing run, which supports expansion higher into these highs. Right, you have the intra candle chain of state delivery right here. Does that make sense? I traded this day on the lower time frame. No, I was using inverse fair value gaps as my means of confirmation for the reversal because it's essentially expansion, melt expansion, consolidation, expansion. When you see consolidation after expansion, that's a continuation signature. I traded this day as well here because again, if I go to the 4-hour time frame, we have expansion, we have expansion. When I look at the high of the day here, it's irrelevant highs. Like it's just low resistance. So when we manipulate this low instead of this fair value gap, I have SMT with YM right here, which is like not something that's like totally relevant, but it's there, right? So you have consolidation, expansion into that consolidation low, expansion away. So I need this to support price higher, basically, which is what happens. I don't know if we had news this day. If we don't, it's fine. We had SMT inside of here, right? So again, if I want to confirm an intra-candle CSD, here it is, right? 10 a.m. open, because I view it 6 a.m. as the candle that manipulated the daily range, right? It's creating a low. This is where I want to see the low day form. I don't want to see it come any lower. That wouldn't be a manipulation or anything like that. So when I see 10 a.m. open higher, creating opposing candles, and I can trust this to be the 10 a.m. low. And there's like SMT down here somewhere. But yeah, this is like all I trade basically. Let's show you. Sorry, this day as well. Like both back-to-back days here. Actually, all these days right here, by the way. So if I go to ES, you're going to see it really clean right here. And then I'm probably going to end this. Okay, we have consolidation. So again, no established side of the day. We formed SMT. So notice how we had SMT here. I'm also going to teach you guys this. So we had bearish SMT here. But what happens? The strength witches, right? So it was weaker. Now it's stronger. Right? We have expansion. Now with expansion. So I assume this to be the low of the day. When I see 8, I think we had news maybe today. No, we don't. When I see 8:30, make that opposing run. Let me close back over it. And then I see 9:30, just expand away from these opposing candles, this manipulation. That's a confirmation already, right? I don't know why it's not showing. I'm not showing my higher set from candles. Oh, sorry. Okay, what do we have here? 10 a.m. So 6 a.m. expands away. If we want to frame continuation, you want to frame an open high-low close at 10 a.m. This is when you get that intra-candle chain state delivery. Probably cleaner on a 5-minute, right? I go here. open, low, series of opposing candles, and we close through that. So this is what I revert to for continuation. And then you're looking, you're looking for S&T at these lows and all that stuff. But yeah, you know, you can see the same thing over here, right? And again, this is how I trade. This is how I trade candle twos. Is I have the previous candle in this key level. So candle one closes an expansion candle. So I would refer to candle candle one's low as a reversal point. I need to see an open low at this low, trading that reversal point. Then we have the intra-candle chain of state delivery. So you have two ways you can trade this. You can either trade it right here or right here. Doesn't matter. But you see how it's the same thing, but it's just in candle two. But I don't want to confuse you guys. I don't even know if I'm like allowed to say that. It's not really something that's taught here, but it's the same concept, right? So when I go to the next days here, so here it makes sense to anticipate a new phase of price, right? Especially after multiple expansion days. So the next week, I can anticipate us trading back to this range, right? To Monday, trading into the previous week's high, I can revert to this wick as a means of creating the high of the day, right? So again, I want to trade away from manipulation. So do you see these highs here? I'm not trading away from that. So I need to see a manipulation of these highs. So that's what we get, right? So this is when I can trade. And me personally, guys, since this is the only area for the high of the day to form, I don't even need to see a candle two closure. I approach it the same entry function, right? But I don't need to see a candle two closure. So if there's a reversal inside this wick, I will just trade it. But there's clearly not, right? So what do we get here? An intra-candle chain of state delivery. I will literally just trade this. That's how I do it. But that's not something that's taught in course, so I don't want to confuse you guys. Does that make sense in a way? And then again, we're forming opposing candles, right? But this is valid. This is a valid. I'm going to show you guys a valid entry here. This is valid though. This entry, I believe, okay, because we have. I go to the hourly time frame here. We have a swing point. So what would this be? This would be an ideal swing formation, right? So if we're going to expand, so notice how the daily hasn't expanded yet. On the open of this candle, the daily range hasn't even expanded yet much. So we can look for targets to like this low or something, right? Something like that. So we can trade this next candle here. And ideally we sweep out something. I don't really want to trade this because again, it didn't really reach into any relevant area. None of these are swing points. You see this? Not a swing point, not a swing point. Ideally, I want to wait for a swing point to form. So then I get that swing point formed here. So I can trade this here. Right. So I'm gonna trust a swing point ideally. And yeah, you could trade that lower. So like, if I was just to target, 1 to 2 or something, go for 500, whatever, we trade that. And then you can look for continuation, right? So notice how this candle, we validate this opposing order block. So you see in distributions, you're just gonna have these hourly and 4-hour expansion candles. And you're gonna have, the intra-candle chain state of delivery that confirm those small opposing runs. Does that make sense? So that's how I trade essentially. But I require manipulation. I forgot to show you the other example, but I'm probably gonna end it there, guys. Yeah, I'll probably end it there. Kill zone indicator is ICT kill zones and pivots, right? Like CFO. Very cool indicator, very good. Yeah, I'll probably end it here, guys. I'll catch you later. I'll be live tomorrow. So more so doing the same thing. I don't know if I'm gonna cover my strat. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Maybe we can go over some examples this week, whatnot. What indicators adding lines? Oh, TWX are you here? PW. Yeah, can you send that to him? He's quick with it. I don't actually know the link. This one is like a paid version apparently. Like it's shared. If you look for it inside of the where is it? TT lessons. It's actually in here somewhere. The link of it. So if you want to find it, the one I have, I don't know if this is the same one. You can find that in here. It's the paid version, free link or something. But yeah, I'll catch you later.